making the cedi gain grounds against the United States dollar. So these are topics that we have found conversation on the show, conversation worthy on the show this morning. I'll employ you to be a part of it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Text line is very active. Make sure you send in your messages. In the course of the show, I'll do well to read them out loud for you. Also, I'll be pleased to know where you're watching us from. Pan-African Television is in 46 other African countries, and so I know there are viewers from all over Africa and the rest of the world. Let me know where you're watching today's show from. I'll make sure that I'll give you a shout out. I've been joined this morning by Madame Rodalyn Ayana. I haven't seen her in a long time. It's good to have her back on our sets again. Auntie Roda, good morning, and many thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Bless. It's good to be back.
Yes, good to have you back. And I know the hassle you had to go through to be here this morning. It shows the commitment and the love that you have for us as a station. And you know we'll have you back as well.
Definitely.
But let me take time to wish you a speedy recovery. I mean, our viewers can visibly see on the screens that you have an issue with your hand.
I had an accident.
She had an accident, but we are happy she's doing well. She's recuperating. The fact that she's had the strength to be here with us this morning goes to testify that she's recuperating. And also, Audu Ishak, who is the General Secretary of the People's National Convention, the PNC, he'll be joining us shortly. But we'll start the conversation. We are going to Nigeria, where we understand that at least 20,000 people have fled Mate town following increasing attacks by Islamist militants in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state. Its governor has said 4 years after residents returned to the town that was once controlled by insurgents. Borno State has witnessed an upsurge in attacks by suspected Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province, that is ISWAP, assailants this year, raising concerns that the militants are making gains again after years of intense attacks by the military. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum visited Mate, which is close to the border with Cameroon, to assess the security situation and meet military officials there. His visit followed a raid on Mate's army base last week, in which militants temporarily overran the installation. At least 5 soldiers were killed and others went missing in the attack. Mate was resettled about 4 years ago, but unfortunately, over the last 3 days, it was ransacked and was displaced again. Zulum told reporters last Sunday. About 20,000 people left Mate for Dikwa. Zulum, who also visited Ran, another town where an army base was attacked last week, yesterday, headed to Kalawa, Balge district, where 23 farmers were killed by suspected militants. At least 2 million people have been displaced and thousands killed by the insurgency in Nigeria in the last 16 years, according to humanitarian groups. Zulum State government resettled residents in Mate as part of a program to shut camps for internally displaced persons in Borno capital, Maiduguri, and upheld the plan as a model for other towns previously controlled by insurgents. But many Mate residents now fear that their lives could be upended again if attacks continue. Boko Haram and Islamic State-backed ISWAP have been adapting their tactics, including using drones for surveillance, security analysts, and the military. See, this is the entire story. It's captured in page 5 of today's edition of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Africa's most populous country facing perennial issues of attacks by insurgents. Is Nigeria too big for is Nigeria too big for the government to manage? Because it appears that every now and then we continue to hear this kind of story in in Nigeria. Every now and then Islamist insurgents and which people, Boko Haram, they've raided this place, they've gone to bomb a church, people are dying. Every now and then this continues to happen.
Yeah. I'd like to say good morning to our viewers, our cherished viewers. It's good to be back after a short break. Bless, Nigeria, made up of 36 states. So you could say made up of 36 countries. One would have expected that things coming from there would be pleasant to the ear. But unfortunately, we are always reading so many negatives. If we even look around us, we have a lot of our friends, brothers and sisters from Nigeria who have come to Ghana to at least get some kind of a living. Insurgency, it's not new. Boko Haram or Islamist behaviors and skirmishes are things that Nigerians in the northern part of the states are always dealing with. When we talk about Boko Haram, we are talking about things that are happening, kidnapping, abductions, killings, and all those things. But I'm asking, I don't know whether to call Nigeria a country now, because when you look at it, like 36 countries put together.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, all the various states are autonomous in one way or the other.
Yeah.
The only thing is that they all take their, all the money goes into one kitty, and then everybody takes a share.
Yeah.
So you have your governor or your senator or whatever in charge of wherever you are. Of recent, I have been to Nigeria less than 4 or 5 months ago. I was in Nigeria. That's around January. And funnily enough, I was in the barracks. And when I got there, I mean, I'm not going to mince words. I was so totally shattered and disappointed. Because if you're a government that is fighting insurgents, it means that your military must be sharp. You know, your security, everything about you must be sharp. We must see that you are at least putting in an effort to get things done the right way. But I'll just share mine, the little experience I had. Going from Lagos to Oyo State, and I'm like full of fear. Okay, I get to a post where I have military men and I have other security agencies, and they're like, be careful, there have been kidnappings of recent in this area. And I'm asking, so what have you been doing? And the whole thing is, what do you want us to do? You see, when I look at Nigeria, I look at a failed state. I look at a situation where very few people have made it, you see, in Nigeria, and the majority are paying for it with their lives. You look at a situation where a country that is supposed to be an oil-rich country, today, people cannot even have electricity. You have to look for your own water. The roads are not any better. There are no jobs. I think the one thing that goes to their credit, for me, is that food somehow is cheap.
It's cheaper there.
Yes, food is cheap. And food is cheap because they have made it a point to eat what they grow. So you are not going to go there looking for your chicken and chips and those things and be taken seriously. I mean, they would rather do their amala and all those things, which for me is a plus, plus, plus. Right. It's also good to see that in certain aspects, they wear their own clothes. Yeah. You understand? I mean, that's one thing that I like. If it's Ankara, the women are wearing it, that's the cloth. If it is the Agbada or whatever, the men are wearing it with their hats.
I never for once saw Obasanjo in suits.
Wear any suit. Yeah, you understand? They are so proud. You know, they are so proud
How do you shy to see the
of where they come from. So they have this pride. If they can use this nationalistic feeling that they have, that they've been running their country with, if they could use that to also look at the economy, look at the security, Nigeria will be a better place. Because at the end of the day, Boko Haram, what is it? It's just a group, a bunch of miscreants creating havoc. But you see, you cannot count some outside influence also. If we turn now to look, we're discussing Africa, right? So if you look at the situation in Burkina Faso, and what we are reading now, and you look at Niger, I was reading a script written by, I think it was the Nigerian or the Malian, and it was like, whilst we were with the French, and we were shooting the terrorists, shall I say, they were arming them against us. Meanwhile, they are supposed to be with us. Yeah. And when we get to the battlefield, we are used as shields while the French soldiers are behind us. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The same way, a story came up about this same Nigerian situation. The insurgence is not just in Zamfara or what. We are now seeing Borno State, almost the northern enclave. Now, we've read that some weapons that were found some time ago when the army was able to overrun them, the militants, they found out that they were being supplied by some Western world, characters. Now, if gun runners from the Western world are being supported by their various embassies to bring in illegal weapons to sell to these same militants, and at the same time come and offer military training and advice to the governments of the day in Nigeria, then there is something very wrong with African leaders. It means that we are not opening our eyes. We should shine our eyes. So for me, the problem in Nigeria is multifaceted. We have the politicians who are not actually ruling the country as they should. They are making more use of the resources for themselves than for the country. And then we have the Western world that the politicians are gaming with against their own. When I was coming here, I was talking to myself and I said, look, I wish that I was a Nigerian. I would rather they were not a federal state, and let each one fight for themselves. You understand? Because if federalism means that a certain part of the country should develop and some people should be enjoying, and then you just look at the other side and forget about things. Why should an army man live in a residence that is so terrible, you virtually have to build it yourself? Why? There have been instances where it has come out that even big equipment being loaded to go and fight insurgents, petrol is not in the vehicle. Petrol that you have in abundance, you don't even have them to give to you. You don't have it to give to your army people. So for me, I think that the military could have done better, but they are not motivated. The security agencies in Nigeria are not motivated. I'd like to speak for them because I talked to a lot of them and I told them, I said, you see this thing that is happening here, it will not happen in our country because we respect at least the military for the fact that we sleep peacefully. Yeah. We respect them. But if I should come here and it's like you're almost like civilians, that you look at their stature, you look at the uniform, you look at their demeanor, and you find that they are just demoralized. Who wants to go? The one who was driving me, thank God, was someone who had been demobilized from Boko Haram, and he had been, brought back into the system. So he was the one who was driving me around, and he drove me up to the north and everything. And so I felt a bit safe because he would tell me, I know this place. And when I get to anywhere, I can talk. You understand? So, Aja, Panta. And I was like, why should I live in a country like that?
You fear, right?
You fear. Why should I live in a country where I'll come and I cannot go to, visit my sister or my friend?
Freedom of movement is curtailed.
Yeah. And then you go, we were shopping somewhere and it's like, hurry up, because why? Now I understand why we have a lot of Igbos here, because I went to that side and I am telling you, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare for me to enter a market and I'm being told that, look, your faces are new and kidnapping, so we have to leave. You get to the airport and the first shock that I got was to be motorcaded by the military to where I was going. What kind of nonsense is that? So the insurgency is a very sad story. 20,000 people fleeing. We will get some in Ghana, definitely. Some will drop off in Togo, definitely. And for us, we have to ask ourselves, what does that do for us as Ghanaians and for as a country, Ghana? Because the more we are about the nearest, we are the nearest English-speaking country that is doing well. So when they leave, they come here. Yeah. Because the language is there. Yeah. Apart from that, we've had very common customs and things with them. Okay, so they are here. What does that bring? Have we, as a government, planned to have these people come in? So they overstretch our water, they overstretch the electricity that we are using and enjoying, they overstretch our food supplies, they overstretch our transport system, because these are people in their hundreds of thousands that are coming in.
Yeah.
Some of them are not even documented. So it affects all of us, and I think that the African Union has not done well. But if you're blaming the African Union as a larger body, how about ECOWAS? Tinubu, President Tinubu, was fast enough to want to go and invade Burkina Faso. But he cannot use his military or ask for ECOWAS forces to help him to fight insurgency in his own backyard. What does that tell you about African leaders?
Right?
So there is something definitely wrong with the structure of governance in Nigeria. And I always side with them when the young people get up and feel that it's time for us to have a change. I think that it is good for them to start thinking about whether this federalism is working. I've never been a fan of a Biafra state or whatever, but looking at what is happening, I think that Nigeria will have to sit up. Nigeria will have to start planning against all these kinds of insurgencies in the north as if it is not part of Nigeria. They are all part of Nigeria. It is not just Abuja. It's not just Lagos. That is Nigeria. It's not Port Harcourt only. There's so many other places. So how come the divide is so sharp that you find some places that are so developed and other places that are so undeveloped? It's not fair. I think that Tinubu and the government of the APC, right? They are in government now, should wake up and start doing something. First will be to motivate the military and all other security agencies, motivate the police, motivate the immigration, motivate everybody, because what I saw is completely a failed state, honestly.
Right. Let me say hearty good morning to the General Secretary of the People's National Convention, our very own Audu Ishak, who's just joined us. Audu Ishak, good morning.
Good morning, Blessed.
I hope you're fine.
I could have been better.
Right. Nigeria, happenings in West Africa's or Africa's most populous country actually, and the biggest economy there is in Africa currently. Still a lot of issues, particularly relative to their security over there.
Well, Bless, let me say a very good morning to our cherished viewers as usual, as well as Madam, my co-panelist. Well, like you just introduced, Bless, it will be difficult to, as it were, discuss Africa in a certain context without, as it were, narrowing in on what happens in Nigeria. All the good accolades you just poured on Nigeria so far is the biggest economy, the biggest country, and all of that in Africa and all of that. So what it means is that whatever happens in Nigeria ought to be of concern to the rest of Africa, especially those of us who are a bit proximate to Nigeria, and those of us who, for one reason or the other, like Ghana, where we have certain ties with the people of Nigeria, like Madam just indicated. When you go out onto the streets of Ghana today, probably you even think that Ghana has become an extension of Nigeria. You see Nigerians engage in all kinds of things. And like she rightly put it, they are contributing to stretching the facilities and the amenities that we have as a people. And what it means is that they are increasing the competition in as far as the kind of satisfaction we want for those amenities or those facilities is concerned. And so we need to be worried that if there is any more insurgency in Nigeria and people begin to flee, we are most likely going to be their next destination. And by the kind of ties that we have with Nigeria, it may be very difficult for us to, as it were, stop them from coming, or decide that for whatever reason that we are sending them back or denying them the opportunity to be here, especially when they have good reason Because if people are fleeing from a conflict, even by international law and human rights, you cannot send them away. You are enjoined to accept them because their lives are being threatened and all of that. And so for me, we should be calling on the authorities in Nigeria, especially the political leadership, to, as it were, try as much as possible within their power to ensure that they are able to resolve that particular problem in Nigeria. And probably they also have to take a second look at the kind of system that they are running. The federal system clearly tells you that somebody has jurisdiction over a certain secluded place. So whatever happens outside of that jurisdiction, in terms of the federal state, is not of concern to them, right? Meanwhile, they are all found within one territory called a country or a nation, for that matter. So you can understand the reason why Nkrumah had to fight the NLM those days, when they were advocating for federalism, when Ghana was fighting for independence. You understand? Today, the unitary system we are enjoying now, and the kind of relative stability we have today as a country, the relative equality that we all enjoy as a people, as people of Ghana, is testament to the vision that Nkrumah had in those days. And so for me, the system Nigeria operates now by way of the federalism is not, as it were, working for them. If you go to US, they are running a federal system in US as well. But you cannot compare the two countries, because they have practiced it over the years, they have perfected it, and there are a lot of things that they have learned lessons from, and it is giving them the dividends that they are having. Unlike in Nigeria, where today, they are still grappling with these teething conflicts and all of it. For me, I think that the powers that be, including the territorial blocks such as ECOWAS, such as AU, and all of those other people, they need to sit around the drawing board. They need to strategize effectively. They need to rule out measures and strategies that will be able to contain this recurring issue of Boko Haram in Nigeria. You understand? Most often than not, some of the reasons that the people come to give for which they are engaged in some of those things, these are things that I think that the government of Nigeria should be able to deal with. The federal government of Nigeria should be able to, because when you say Nigeria is the biggest economy on all our place, we are also aware that if you are talking about, look, I had a Nigerian friend who came to Ghana. That time, I think this Woyome issue had come up. And then where I went for a radio program and we were discussing it. When I came, you know what he told me? He said Ghanaians are not serious. I said, well, he said, 51 million Ghana cedis and the whole of the country is talking about it. If you go to Nigeria and a politician or takes 51 million, they don't see it to be anything. The people who steal in Nigeria, the people who engage in corrupt acts in Nigeria, they don't engage in the pittance. They consider, imagine somebody considering 51 million in those days. This was around 2010. Yeah. But he told me that 51 million Ghana cedis was no money. You understand? So when you do these things to a point where the people you are supposed to be serving, they lose confidence, a certain level of despair sets in, and they think that the only way they can, as it were, feel part of the system is to create the kind of confusion they create using the Boko Haram menace. That is what would happen. So that's why I said they need to even fix their governance architecture, the attitude of government officials, politicians, and all of that. We need to imbibe a certain level of confidence in the populace so that they will know that if I wait and bid my time, it will also reach my time. But once the people lose that confidence and they see that the only way they can also exact their pound of flesh is to engage in such excuse my language, terrorism acts, then you will have yourself to blame. For me, I think that this matter must be dealt with. It must be given the necessary attention, and all those involved, the government, the federal government of Nigeria, ECOWAS, AU, and in fact all of those other people within that that bracket, they ought to attach a little bit more seriousness and wake up to reality that they need to map out strategies to deal with the Boko Haram issue, because at the end of the day, those fleeing are not the families of the renowned rich men and the politicians and all of those other people, but these are helpless, ordinary people who have nowhere else to go, and they need to try to flee in order to even survive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Awudu Ishak. You too can be a part of today's discussion. Let me know what your thoughts are. Text line will be displayed on your screens. But let's move away from Nigeria. Let's come back to Ghana. 2 days ago, there was a heavy downpour, torrential rains in Accra. And as usual, whenever there's heavy rains, the city floods, and so some communities here in the capital, including East Legon of all places, was flooded. Some parts of Lakeside was also flooded. You see houses submerged in water. When it comes to our flooding situation, this is like the umpteenth time we'll be talking about this situation, Ghana's flooding issue. We've always discussed floods. I think it was in 2015 the disaster happened. Yes. It was in 2015. Yeah, the June 4. Yeah, the June 3rd. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was June 3rd or June 5. Yeah, it was in 2015. Yeah, 2015. Yeah. So where scores of people died, and it was as a result of flooding. I mean, we've had conversations ad nauseum repeatedly about our flood situation. It keeps on getting worse and worse. According to the National Disaster Management Organization, Sunday's heavy rainfall and the floods was the worst in 5 years. In the last 5 years, it was the worst. As you can see on your screens, I think this should be around Circle. They should be around Circle. And the places that flood are constant. They are constant places. Like whenever it rains, these places flood. But I mean, like they say about the vulture, it appears that that attitude is stuck with us. It appears that we are never going to get out of this situation. Awudu Ishak, I'm going to start this conversation with you. I don't know where you live, but I lived at Barrier. I don't live there anymore. I lived at Barrier in the Wijagbawe constituency, and over there, whenever it rained, it was hell. Whenever the dam was built, it was hell. We've had repeated conversations about the fact that there are places where people are not supposed to build, but we continue to build in these places. And whenever it rains, we tend to feel the brunt of it, because now the water has nowhere to pass, and so it has to go into people's home. Mr. Ishak, what do we have to do? What stringent measures do we have to employ to ensure that this flooding situation becomes a thing of the past? And I mean, is it too late also? Is it too late to address these issues? Because like I earlier said, the places that flood constantly, they are the same places. Is it too late? And these places are already developed.
Well, Bless, for your first question, for the most part of my life in Accra, especially when I was able to rent, starting from when I was able to rent, I think that I've lived for the most part of my life in Accra, in Fadama. Recently, I moved to Dakuman. But I've lived in so many places in Accra, right from 2013 when I moved from Wa to Accra. Fortunately for me, I've never had wherever I live getting flooded. But you have friends, you have family who live elsewhere. And so you see these things in practical terms, because once it happens to them, you are involved. You have to commiserate with them. Sometimes you have to even help them to relocate and all of that. So it's not something that is far removed from our reality. We see it every day. If for nothing at all, you made reference to the June 3rd disaster, which is going to be, we are going to the 10th anniversary. The 10th every year after June 3rd. I think that we have always celebrated that anniversary every year since that thing happened. Because I know, it was the June 3rd that Senator Rawlings even used to launch her political career.
Okay.
You remember?
Yeah. And that's the constituency actually?
That's her constituency.
Yeah, Clotekole.
So for me, I think that this issue of perennial flooding in Accra is as a result of an interplay of complicated matters. Complicated matters to the extent that the government, let me not say government, because governments are transient. I think that the state has failed over the years to commit itself to resolving the problem of flooding in the country, because in recent times, even places that are far away from the coast, such as my own town, right, what gets flooded these days when it rains to a certain extent. We growing up, there was no issue of flooding or whatever in a place like Wa in the Upper West region. Today, there have been 3 or 4 instances where serious floods have hit the people of Wa. Remember, it was during one of those flooding incidents that the vice president then visited, donated some items, and later people came and said they were expired food items and all of that. So what it tells you is that if we do not take time, bit by bit, the entirety of the country called Ghana will be prone to flooding. Just that it is in the capital that it happens most often.
Yeah.
But depending on the intensity of the rains, other parts of the country equally get flooded.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that it's as a result of an interplay of several complicated matters. For instance, our attitude as a people, in terms of waste generation, in terms of how we dispose waste and all of that. You cannot take it away from being a contributory factor in as far as flooding is concerned. When you also talk about the attitude of the state, bless, we have our National Disaster Management Organization. If for nothing at all, everybody knows that NADMO has an immediate task as far as preventing or dealing with issues of flooding as a natural disaster is concerned, beyond flooding to other equally important unforeseen natural disasters. But how do we treat NADMO? NADMO appears to be a dumping ground for party activists. The long arm of politics has taken over to the extent that the role that NADMO is supposed to play, people are not looking at whether NADMO is succeeding as far as its core mandate is concerned. But it's an avenue for political parties which form government to push their activists into, so that at the end of the day, they could also benefit from the kitty because they will be paid salaries and allowances and all of that. It is not about sitting back and ensuring that the experts that NADMO needs, because you are talking about disaster, you have disaster experts. Yeah. You have people who would go to the organization, steer the affairs of the organization in such a manner that the organization would be able to respond to its core mandate in terms of these disasters. Unfortunately, bless you, we all know that that has not always been the situation. Today, it is about who has a powerful godfather who can push and say that you come and take over this particular position at NADMO. You go here and take this position. You go here and take that position. At the end of the day, the people are not going there because they have the expertise or the experience or the knowledge to deal with disaster situations. They are there simply because somebody thought that they contributed to his or her political campaigns or whatever, and so they are also being rewarded. It's a reward, not a job to be done. And so if you have a whole of your flagship disaster management entity or organization for that matter, and it is reduced to a point where people are only sent there to go and benefit from the system, then you can imagine what will be happening. Beyond that, bless, we know that when you talk about NADMO in that manner, you know that NADMO in one way or the other also deals with these assemblies. How much do we resource our assemblies in terms of allocations to deal with issues of disasters? We don't attach any seriousness to it, but we think that dealing with disaster is all about going to make donations, going to sympathize with affected people, going to commiserate with them and all of that. The most important aspect of disaster to be dealt with must be that of prevention.
Yeah.
What do we do to prevent these disasters from happening? We do virtually nothing. Look, I am not sure whether the Odo River has been desilted. Now that the rain has come, very soon you will see them go to start desilting.
You see, I used, I mean, not to cut you, I used that stretch 2 days, the day it rained heavily. I didn't know, I didn't even know that was it, because it was filled to the brim. Yes, it was filled to the brim. And we allot funds, so much money, so until we begin to deal with disaster from the point of prevention, right, these things would always happen. And I'm saying that the conduct or the manner in which we deal with all of these stakeholders who have one part or another to play as far as dealing with these issues of disaster is concerned determines whether we'll be able to defeat these perennial floods or not. If we continue to do things the way we are doing it, like the popular saying, you can't do things the same way and expect different results. Yeah.
If you expect different results, you have to do different, you have to approach the thing differently. Unfortunately, that is not how we are dealing with it. And beyond that, bless, even the people that we send to the NADMO, or NADMO itself, request to see the salary structure of the people at NADMO, how much they are paid. As compared to the mandate that they have, you are telling the people that there is no job for them. Because if you expect people to discharge a certain mandate, which is as important as dealing with these disasters, you cannot be paying them pittance or peanuts. You understand? That contractual agreement itself, in terms of the people you employ, will tell them that you are attaching a certain seriousness to the work that you want them to do. Unfortunately, because right from the word go, the state itself is not concerned about whether NADMO will discharge its core mandate or not. They are not concerned about the welfare of the people whom they are even sending there. That's why I say they are only sending the people there because they think that the government is in power and they must go and benefit. You understand? And so, and I'm also saying that our attitude, our general attitude as a people, in terms of how we treat waste, in terms of how we approach the issue of buildings, housing, bless. Clearly, there are laid down procedures that you must follow if you even want to put up a building. Unfortunately, this issue, this thorny issue of landguardism, landguardism is helping a lot of rich people from in flouting our building laws. Because somebody goes to build, he abides by the building code, he puts up his or her building, avoiding waterways, avoiding road layouts and all of that. A certain rich man comes, he's building right in the waterway. Because he has money, he's raising his foundation to a certain level that until Noah's Ark comes, the water cannot even enter his house. But the poor people who are around him or her, they would always get flooded because he has diverted the water. And in putting up those buildings, they rely on these landguards. If you go out and say, this is a waterway, if you don't take time, you will not even survive it. You understand? So that intimidation that is meted out to people who want to seek the right thing is something that the government ought to deal with. But most often than not, our security agencies are complicit. Our police and our military are complicit.
Yeah, that's true.
They go under the cover of darkness to help some of these people to do the nefarious things that they are doing. At the end of the day, it comes to harm the entire neighborhood, and for that matter, the entire city. And so that is why I say that there is a serious interplay of complicated matters as far as the issue of flooding is concerned. Bless, who am I to know these things? And you think that the ministers up there, the director generals up there, the chief executives up there, they do not know. It's simply a matter of commitment. If they want to get it right, they would get it right. If they deal with all of these things that I just talked about, I think that we will be heading somewhere as far as dealing with this perennial flooding is concerned.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Auntie Rhoda. Auntie Rhoda.
Yeah, flooding. Very sad.
You don't live in an area which floods, do you?
No, I live at Adjoingano.
Okay.
I didn't hear of any flooding.
Right.
And I was also surprised to hear of East Legon, because people said it's not East Legon, it's East Legon Hills.
East Legon Hills, okay.
So if
that's
you're buying,
Santor?
So if you're yes, Santor,
okay.
and you know there's a big gutter around there just before you enter Santor. From Nana Krum. Nana Krum was terribly affected. So all those areas were affected. Unfortunately, we are buying property by names. So when you hear East Legon Hills, you take it that you're buying property in East Legon. So everybody
when it was Santor, people weren't rushing for it.
Exactly.
Until they changed the name from Santor to East Legon.
Yeah, so you know when we entered Adjoingano, they wanted to change the name to East Legon Extension, and we said no, we like Adjoingano. We have Trasacco in Adjoingano, so we like it that way. So that's how it is. But that's beside the point. It's unfortunate that these kinds of things should be happening right now. We've come 10 full years from the last one that we had that was so terrible that we just discussed. Sometimes you ask yourself exactly why we should be blaming other people and not ourselves. In the first instance, when you look at the drainage systems that we have, very big, wide open drains, and somehow we as citizens, some of us, think that those are dumping grounds for rubbish. So we are dumping our household waste in there. We are dumping other rubbish from, look at the second-hand traders. Where do you think all those other things go to when they are not able to sell? The garbage that comes from there. All these things go into our gutters. And then we are looking at the way we manage our own rubbish in certain parts in our homes. Some people just lift. How much is it to put it in some aboboya to go and put it at a correct place? But would rather keep it at a corner and wait and look left and right and dump it in a sewage or gutter or some place. So part of it is our own problems. The other thing is, I keep wondering, why do district assemblies and other state agencies that are supposed to be involved in issuing out permits for people to put up buildings, why do we find certain houses in waterways? Meanwhile, no one is talking about demolishing them until something happens. We are here and we see a Ramsay site being filled for people to build houses. And when you're pulling it down, somebody sits and says, it is our land. They don't understand what it does. We sat here in Accra. We drive through and we see East Legon. That patch of land that was left with beautiful trees. Today, just by the East Legon police station, someone decides to gift us a police station, and out of that gift of a police station, the whole of that enclave is now concrete. That was a beautiful place with trees trapping water. Today it's sloping down, and all the water that is coming is just going down there. Just because somebody decided that he was going to give us, he gave us a free police station. Now he has a tennis, whatever, he has shops there, everybody else has shops there, and there is even nowhere to park. Now, if I had that right, I would pull all those buildings down right now. But who has the political will to do that? No one. We're looking at places where we know that these are flood-prone areas. Whenever it rains and you look at Kaswa, this time I didn't hear about Kaswa much. That wager stretch that you just said. Who said that Kaswa was meant to be a settlement? Mashi Kaswa. Who said that it was never meant to be a settlement? But we have allowed it to happen. So it is us, agencies that are supposed to be doing their job, that have reneged on those activities that have created these problems for us. And some of us know, those of us who go and buy those things, we know. And you actually tell the person that this place is much, and he says, I'll fill it.
Yeah.
I'll fill it. I think recently, about some few months ago, I think the president had to go and fill up.
Men's chrome.
Men's chrome?
Yeah,
yes.
Men's
and,
chrome,
and
that's like opposite me.
Exactly. And they actually even refused.
Yeah.
So they were forced to get the regional minister and the lot of
You know how much they're selling
the
the land there? 400,000 cedis for it.
Can you imagine? 400,000 for land at Men's chrome.
That much.
Men's chrome. Yes, I will. Left on this McCarthy Hill.
Yes. So if you are on the hill, I'm on McCarthy Hill. If you're on the hill, you could see Men's chrome. You could see that people are dumping refuse there to fill that. Yeah.
I mean, how can you, as a human being living in a place where you suffer, whenever there is even a slight tremor, you run from those areas, and yet you go and put in these things.
Yeah. Even when the dam is built.
Yes. And the dam, you are told, don't build here. Ghanaians are still building.
Yeah. You
see, up there, where I think Asamoah has his house, one of these days we are going to be sitting here, and it's just going to come down. It's just going to all come down. It's like, as Anthony said, so a ding. We do not take things seriously. I mean, there's so many things that are happening that should not be happening, and it all has to do with the fact that we are putting some people in offices that they are not capable of handling. Because my son here was talking about a situation where NADMO may not have the qualified staff. How about the district assemblies? Isn't it the same thing? The district assemblies are the same thing. A party, somebody, whether the person has it or not. So it all has to do with politics. Our whole system is about vote at the end of every 4 years. That's all there is to it. And so no one is willing to do anything that will create a problem for him or her when it comes to voting. So we still have Fadama next to Odona. Yeah. All that place from Alajo, getting down, Agbogboshi, and all this place. To think that Odona in the 60s was used for bragatas and stuff like that, entertainment. Yeah. Is it so difficult for us to do something about it? If you look at Fadama, I keep saying, I said, so can't we get any Chinese investor? I won't talk about a Ghanaian investor because some of them don't have insights into such things. But when we travel to Malaysia and everything, so we're going on the boat rides and we're looking at all these things, we come back and we are so happy. It can be done in our own country. Because Fadama and that Odona were places that they used to do boat racing. Why can't we do it? But instead, they dump the rubbish there from the markets. Yeah. And I keep saying we don't have markets. We just have places that end up saying they are markets. You know, somebody starts a table, then before you know, it's a market. It's a market. If we had markets, we'll have places where we can dispose of waste. And we wouldn't have to have them carry everything and go and put in the lagoon. It's rather unfortunate that this flooding had to come and so many people had to die. Graphic is saying 4. I know that just at Lakeside, there were more than 4. You know, people lost lots of properties. And all these things that have happened, who is going to pay? How are we going to help those people who lost everything, electricals, everything? Everything that they had in their home. My driver happens to have been affected. So I know. My daughter's friend too was affected. Lost everything. All they had was what they were wearing because they had to run for dear life. Yeah. You know, and it all boils down to one thing. Everybody wants to own a house because the cost of rent is so high that people are even just thinking about how am I going to build my own house. So anywhere that they get any little space, you find people building. Yeah. So what can we do about the rent? Is rent control working? What is the state doing about social housing? Why do you notice that all these flooding areas are places where ordinary poor Ghanaians live? Should we say that it's about time government decided, instead of always selling the state lands to the haves who already have and who can afford to reclaim any land, is it better for the government to start selling some of those lands to companies that can put up social housing for the ordinary people? Because at the end of the day, I didn't hear Cantonments was flooded.
Yeah.
I didn't hear Ridge was flooded. I didn't hear that Labone or somewhere in Accra there was flooded. But these are the areas where we have state lands and state bungalows that sit, one small bungalow sitting on a huge land, which can bring high-rise buildings for ordinary workers to at least have an opportunity to go in there. I think that governments must start thinking about those kinds of things so that we alleviate the sufferings of the masses who are out there trying to make a living. Because today we've become so, what? I would say we are Europeanized. So it's just the nuclear family, me, my wife, and my kids. It's no longer you building a big house and having this and letting your cousin come and stay or somebody else. No, it's just me, my wife, and my kids. And everybody's getting their small area. So what happens is that you're now working in Accra, you live at Cantonments, and your driver and your houseboy, they live at another place, Santio. Can you imagine? They have to leave that place to come to work at Cantonments. In our time, what we knew was when you build a house, you build a boys' quarters so that your driver will be close by, your maid will be close by, and everybody. Now they don't want to live with them. You understand? They don't want to live with them, so now they build by themselves. And then all these people have to go and find somewhere else to live. And that is where the problem is. So everybody is building. If you get a piece of land, they say this place is 10,000, 5,000, 2,000, they will buy. Now, I mean, we are not here on a quarter plot, half plot, 1/8 plot. These are things that we didn't used to hear. If you are buying a plot, you are buying a plot. But what is this quarter plot, 1/8 plot, and all that? And to give people the opportunity to be able to build. So you look around and you look at all the estates that are coming up, and it seems like we don't see it. Governments don't see it. District assemblies don't see it. All we do is that we wait. When it happens and the water has carried their babies, carried their monies, their small money, then we come crying out. Well, government hasn't done this.
Amends.
Yes, trying to make amends. NADMO, I don't know how NADMO is being resourced. I don't know if they have the equipment to fight the floods. I don't know. But I do know that when it gets to the crunch, they will call the 48 engineers to come out. Why? Every year we find it. Every year it's the same story, yet we go to bed as soon as the rain stops. I was watching a clip, I think it was a motorway. I don't know if it was a motorway. They said it was motorway. And I was like, if this is motorway, please, God, help us. You know,
we are doomed, yeah.
We are doomed. If this is motorway, we are doomed. So this perennial flooding and whatnot, it lies with the institutions that have been put in place to look after these kinds of situations. What are they going to do with Odo? The Odo. What are they going to do with it after 43 million or so having been spent to dredge? Sometimes I ask myself, is it that we write 43 and then if it's cedis we just change it to dollars? Because you see, I don't think even America, where the dollar is coming from, they spend dollars like we do and we don't get any results. Honestly, we don't get any results, but we seem to be spending the dollars. I think any time that a receipt is written, when it's cedis, oh, just put it to dollars. The garbage disposal is a problem. I'm told that we don't have many more disposal places, their dumping sites. So now it's like they have to go a long distance before they can dump. So some of them just look left and right and dump it at the nearest place and then come back. At least I know that the truck that used to come and carry mine in our area has stopped coming because of non-payments and other things. So we have to look at that. We have to look at all the agencies and all other people who are in charge of waste management, housing, who are supposed to be giving out all these permits and whatnot, the district assemblies, all of it. And then the last one is all of us. We should all make it a point to at least respect the environment and not just be throwing things anyhow.
Yeah.
We should respect our environment. We should learn to plant more trees. You know, we should learn to keep our environments clean. And maybe we should go back to planting green grass instead of all this concreting we're doing.
I was coming to that.
Yes, but the concreting is too much.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, do we have Ghanaian architects? Do they look at our environment? Do they look at our situation before they give us all these slabs? I'm also guilty because I used to have plants, but unfortunately now I have concrete because I can manage it. No, because I can't. As you grow older, you don't get the opportunity to be able to manage all those things. So now I have a smaller garden instead of having a big garden. You understand? So I'm just saying that for now, I think that we need those kinds of things. We should stop the slap. The greenery is actually also beautiful. It makes it breathes, and it makes a lot of sense to have greenery. Apart from that, when water seeps in, it goes down. So now you're even digging for water, you don't get boreholes, you don't get water because the concrete has covered the whole thing and it's just going. So let's do something about all these things. But honestly, we are in a bad state as it is right now. And my condolences to those who lost their relatives, their children, and then I'm really sorry also for those who, my sympathies go to those who lost properties and their monies and their valuables and stuff like that. Yes, it's been a very terrible time.
You see, I think that we also need to change our mindset about these things. We all know that today plastic has become a resource, but we continue to see plastic as waste.
Yeah.
Have you witnessed? You see people going around picking even pure water sachet, old women, and
they are
picking it up. They are going to sell.
Yeah.
We have recycling companies who are buying the plastics. Why can't the government make a conscious effort? We have a youth employment agency. We are looking for opportunities to employ Ghanaian youth. We are not getting. This is an opportunity. Why can't you engage the youth in plastic recovery? Right? And to the extent that once you even employ such people, there is a direct benefit coming to you, because once they collect that the plastic to up to a certain tonnage, you go and you sell it.
Yeah.
They are off takers.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's even possible that instead of the payments that are being given to them now, you heard the YA chief executive Basentali saying that he will not sign on to any contract where the people are paid below the minimum wage. What it means is that if you have such a program in place, it is now possible for the YA to even generate income and use that income to pay the people that they have engaged. So you will not be depending so much on government subvention. So you are actually going to solve two or more problems. You are going to rid our environment of these plastic waste. And you're also going to get some income as a result of whatever arrangement you would have with the off-takers who are into plastic recycling. This is not something that is impossible.
I hardly hear the likes of Zoom Lion, you know, like, as in, we holding them to account in this flooding situations. We hardly hear them talk about it, and it appears we also hardly hold them accountable because
they are benefiting from it. So why should they talk about it? They are benefiting from it. You know, but and you know, under the guise of well, they are trying with their recycling plants. I've seen one along the Kwalebu Road there and stuff like that. But then you have to ask yourself, how much really does it cost to have these plants? Is it possible for government to
have more?
To have more, and if government cannot do it, is it possible for government to source out for private sector participation? You know, because somehow Zoom Lion or whatever, they seem to have a monopoly on these issues, and it's becoming rather discomforting. So I think that we should open up some more. And also, we should try as much as possible to encourage the use of paper and other, biodegradable things, because it's always been the plastic. And the plastic is cheaper to do, but it is not environmentally friendly. And we don't have the political will also to say we are stopping like Rwanda has. We don't have the political will, because those people are the same people who finance parties and then do other things. So we don't have the political will. But if we don't have the political will to do that, we can at least find other people to go into the production of paper bags and other stuff, so that at least we wouldn't need so much of the plastics. I think that would help us too.
Right. Let me take time to read some messages that we have from our viewers. This one here says that the recent flooding in Accra highlights the shortcomings in the Akufo-Addo administration's handling of flood prevention efforts. Reports indicate that $43 million was allocated to the Sanitation Ministry under Cecilia Dapa, specifically for desilting the Odo River. However, concerns over transparency and oversight have emerged, as there appears to have been no accountability in how these funds were utilized. The devastating impact of the rains underscores the urgent need for responsible governance. Thank you very much, Musa Abatwa. Kwablavi of Pokwasi says, we are begging Ghanaian sellers to reduce the price of their goods because the dollar has been reduced. Price of spare parts, kinky oil, lorry fare, water, cereals, etc. must be reduced to show appreciation to President John Dramani Mahama. Okay, this one here also says that good morning, God bless President Mahama for turning the corner towards better economic recovery. In just a few months of his leadership, he has already shown remarkable progress, from abolishing nuisance taxes that burden citizens and businesses to laying down a clear path towards a sustainable economic growth. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Bless. Isn't it possible for President Tinubu, or for that matter the Nigerian government, to seek intervention, foreign forces to come to their aid, as he was trying to gather forces to fight Burkina Faso? Nimensa, Spintex Road. Thank you, Nimensa, for that. Good morning, Pan-African TV. The insurgencies in Nigeria was created by a high level of corruption by their politicians, and the army cannot fight the insurgencies because all the generals are also the high level. They are at the side of the high level politicians in military uniforms. The devil cannot fight against himself. Jabo from Kandewu in Tema West. Jabo, I sent this one with a Nigerian number, so I'm sure he's a Nigerian living here in Ghana. This also another Nigerian. Good morning, my people of Ghana. I like your discussion this morning about the Nigerian insurgency. The problem is from our politicians, because they don't care about the poor people in the country, but only their pockets. Well, if the government of Ghana will help them, I'll be happy, because Nigeria is dead. They need to wake up. John Vance sent this one all the way from Nigeria. Thank you, John, for your message. Good morning, Bless. This is Adam Kola from Tamale Central. I think this flood will be the end. I hope the regional minister and mayor will do their best to put a stop to it. Regards to Honorable Aduna and Honorable Muntaka Mubarak. Okay, thank you. Gideon Idi from Adento says, good morning to you. The very people who allege that H.E. John Dramani Mahama is attempting to run for a third term, being the reason for the suspension of the CJ, are the same people saying they will win the 2028 election because the NDC will be filing a new presidential candidate, with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia stands a chance. Is this self-contradictory or lack of honesty? I think the NPP should do self-introspection to resolve and fix their broken party first before any other thing. Ghana has now gotten a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, led by JDM. We cannot afford to commit any such grievous mistake any longer to bring back the state capture and mislead us. Okay, thank you. Destin Kwame Apo Says Auntie Rhoda has made my day. She has really conveyed my ideas, because I keep on asking myself why everybody wants to build in Ghana. Can't the state come to build affordable houses and rent them out to the poor in order to salvage situations like these? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, these are some of your messages, but finally let me read this one. Ghana's flooding issues can only be addressed if we change our style of building. The widespread use of tiles for rendering homes and the reckless filling of swampy areas must stop. Our current practices are worsening the problem, and without a shift in mindset and planning, the floods will only get worse. And Nana P2 from Accra sent this one. Thank you, Nana, for your message. On that note, we'll proceed to our next topic for conversation. Something I would say something nice, because of course, who doesn't want the transport fares? Who doesn't want transport fares to be reduced? We are learning this morning that the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, that is the GPRTU of the Trade Union Congress, they will be reducing transport fares effective May 25, and of course we are all looking forward to that. Why is that happening? That's because we are seeing a drop in the price of petroleum products, fuel, super diesel price are coming down, and I'm sure that's where it is translating into or it has to translate into a reduction of fares, because when fuel prices go up, then these trotro drivers, they also increase their fares. So something that should give us a glimmer of hope. And before I also allow Madam Rhoda to share her views on this topic, I'd also say that then if we are seeing a reduction, if you are seeing a reduction in fares, then it should also translate in the reduction of goods and services, because these marketsmen will tell you that they have to they have to pick trotro to go and bring the goods from the market. So if the prices are coming down, it means that we'd have to see a reduction, isn't it?
Yes, we have to. I think drivers are quite happy that fuel prices have gone down. They've had a full day. I think the last couple of weeks we've seen the dollar shoot down, and we've seen drivers also happy that fuel prices are going down or have gone down. But of course they will tell you that it's not just fuel that moves the car, the spare parts as well. And so we are expecting that spare parts dealers will also reduce their prices. It is when the spare parts dealers reduce their prices that the drivers will then also feel comfortable to stick to the prices that we expect them to give us. Food prices at this time ought to have come down. I think that market women are becoming another bunch of our problems. And somehow I believe that government has to have some form of engagement with our market women. You actually leave them at your own peril, these market women. Even Kwame Nkrumah recognized that. So I believe that our markets are such that they have groups, they have leaders, so we should be engaging with them to be able to let them understand that it's not always about you making profit, and when immediately prices of fuels or other things come down, you still stick to those prices. It's time for us to talk, to engage. It's just a question of talking to people. First and foremost, for some of us, you ask yourself, you go to the market, they'll tell you that tomatoes are in season, yet they'll make tomatoes so expensive, and then you buy, and then in the evening you go and the rotten ones are being thrown away. Couldn't you have made it cheaper for your fellow woman, to buy? But these are things that you would never understand. They have the market women have their own way of doing their economics, so they know how they handle their things. But I think that it's been very good for the GPRTU to have come up with a 15% price decrease. It will help workers as well, those who've been paying more for transportation. Apart from that, if we look at the reasons why, if the fuel price is going down because of the appreciation of the cedi, then it means that everything else should be going down.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. If the dollar is going down, and that is affecting fuel, and fuel is what is used by these car owners, then it should be going down. And not only that, how about other utilities? How about water? Yeah. How about electricity? Because apparently they use electricity. I mean, electricity uses some form of electricity to bring us. So all those things must come down so that we can all enjoy ourselves. Because one, the fact that the dollar has come down, the plus factor is that your take-home pay now will buy you a bit more if these people reduce their prices. Yeah. If the lorry station, you get there and you have some savings, and then you get to the market also and you have some savings. It means that if you took 100 cedis to the market, now you will not be paying the full complement of maybe 10 cedis for transportation. You'll be paying about 8 cedis 50 pesos. So you at least have another 1 cedi 50 pesos to do something. If you went to the market and then because of the fact that GPRTU has reduced the prices for transportation, they have also reduced their prices, you will also pay less for the tomatoes or for the okra that you buy. So the rippling effect is good, if only GPRTU will stick by the rules. And then also our market women will also see reason to do so, because you see we are in the rainy season. You go to the market and you're still buying kontomire, a bunch of kontomire for 20 cedis. 20 cedis.
Meanwhile, kontomire should be in season.
Yes, kontomire should be in season now. What's the season now that you can see that is cheap? It's okra. And all those things. You know, they always have excuses. So I think that it's a good thing. I think it will help a lot of us. I don't know if it will also affect FS, because I don't know if aviation oils would be part of the package that is coming with all this reduction in fuel prices. If aviation oil is going to be affected, then we are expecting that our and the rest will do the right thing, and then and then if the dollar has gone down, we are expecting that maybe the FS for international flights will also go down. So the rippling effect is supposed to look good. Yeah, they should be felt everywhere. If only the players will play us right. Government has done its bit. It's left to the players to play us right.
Play us right.
Yeah.
Mr. Ishak?
Well, bless. It's true. So far, so good. I think that in 4 months or in 5 months, the government has done its part. The government, you know, that issues of inflation, issues of depreciation of the cedi and all of that, they play a huge part in our politics. Political parties do a lot of politics and campaigns with the management of these issues, how well they think that they can manage the economy, and especially narrowing it down to dealing with inflation, dealing with foreign exchange and all of that. And so if we have seen a certain consistent pattern where the cedi is appreciating against especially the dollar, which is our major trading partner, then it means that we must give the credit where it is due. And going beyond that, I am happy that the various players, such as the fuel sector players, have agreed that there's a reason to continue to reduce their prices in accordance with the performance of the cedi against the dollar. And we have witnessed for ourselves today a decision by the transport owners as well to also reduce cost of transportation by 15%. And that is no mean amount. Please, traveling from Wa to Accra, you are going to pay like 380 Ghana cedis. So if you take 15% away from that, that is quite, it's come down to around 320 Ghana cedis, 330 Ghana cedis. It's not small. And so when you also juxtapose it with the transportation of essential items, when I say essential items, building materials, you're talking about cement, you're talking about iron rods, and all of those other items in that value chain, which have to be transported to every other part of the country. And you know that in doing that business, people factor in the cost of transportation. the cost of fuel. And so if the cost of fuel has come down, and then the cost of transporting these materials equally comes down, nobody will tell you that cement that is being sold around 120 Ghana cedis, 130 Ghana cedis in the northern parts of the country would surely also see a certain reduction. And so once that happens, people engaged in the construction and the real estate sector would also have the cost of their business also seeing a certain reduction and all of that. At the end of the day, all of that, like Madam said, if everybody plays according to this natural rule that is going around, it is we the people who are going to benefit. But we have a lot of dishonest people, we have a lot of greedy people in that value chain who will still want to profiteer from the situation, in spite of the fact that their cost of doing business is coming down. They still want to price their goods at a certain level. I think that this level of dishonesty, this level of greed is un-Ghanaian. As Ghanaians, people think that we have a certain level of honesty. People trust us with that honesty, that level of fairness and all of that. And so we need to commend all of those players who are ensuring that we have this relative stability, not just stability in the cedi, but a consistent appreciation of the cedi against the dollar. And you have seen even the finance minister himself, who people are crediting with that feat. He has turned around to say that the performance of the Ghana Gold Board so far, right, has played a part in the performance of the cedi. And that Gold Board is under, I think, Sami Jemfi.
Yeah.
And so what it means is that if government institutions, they hold on to the mandates for which they are established, just like the Ghana Gold Board, and they perform at a certain level, an appreciable level, at the end of the day, once we begin to feel the effects of their work, the effect of their performance, we are going to praise them. They will take the credit and still take their salaries home. That is what public service should be about. The finance minister is commending Sami Jemfi and the Gold Board for what they have done. You understand? And so this is what should drive service in public, in public offices. Not people looking at what they can benefit. No, you are coming to serve the people. You can still serve the people and still benefit because you are going to be paid for the work that you do.
You do, yeah.
At the end of the day, maybe the Almighty Allah may also bless you because you have ensured that people have lived a certain a respectable and modicum sort of life.
Right, thank you. To some more messages, good morning, blessed. Greetings to Madam Rodelin and your other guest, Audu Ishak. It is good GPRT has finally come to the realization that they have to reduce their fares and GUTA also to reduce their items in the market. The only thing that baffled me is the dates they are given for the reduction to take effect. Meanwhile, if it was the other way around, the increase would have been immediate. The Ghanaian is our own enemy. But I mean, don't they have justification for that, like a reasonable justification, especially for the market women? You go buy an item at, say, let's say 10 Ghana cedis. You come sell, let's say, at 12 Ghana cedis, you are making 2 Ghana cedis profit. Now, let's say, for the same item, when they change their money into dollar and then they go and buy it out there, let's say they have to buy at around 8 Ghana cedis. So it means they have to come and sell at, say, 10 to maintain that same 2 cedis profit. Now, what happens is that if these are items that they have already bought at a particular amount, and so if they reduce that particular product that they've already purchased, let's say in bulk quantities, they are not going to get their profits. And it always favors them. They always do things to favor themselves, because in a situation where, like this viewer is saying, in a situation where, let's say, the dollar rises, even if it's an old stock they have, they will still increase the price, because they will say that the justification is that if they don't increase the price, where would they find the money to go and then bring in new stock? And so it's a problem. Yeah, we are always at the receiving end of that.
No, we shouldn't be.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be. You see, along the coast, all of us go to the same markets. We go. People from Gambia, people from Sierra Leone, people from Nigeria, people from all over along the coast. They all go to China. They all go to Dubai. They all go to Turkey. Why is it that things are so expensive in Ghana more than they are in Nigeria? Why? We are sitting in Ghana. Nigerians are coming here, going back to Nigeria, buying the stuff and coming to sell it here. Because they have found a good marketing area here, where something that we all go to China to buy for $1, Ghanaians want to make $10 out of $1. Why? Years ago, we used to have the Nigerians before the Obiang Kofi. One of the reasons why people didn't like them was because, look, they would buy, they would just put a small profit margin on it for the things to go. To
run fast.
Yeah. Run fast. Yeah. And then they go again and they come. In Ghana, you can go to shops and there are things that have been there for 10 years because they will overprice them.
Yeah.
You know, they overprice them. They will sell only 100 of 200 out of 500 items and get their money. Why? You see, we all go to churches, we all go to the mosque, yet we do not have empathy for our fellow person, our fellow Ghanaian. So when you go to Nigeria, everybody's buying, everybody's wearing, everybody's doing everything because they've got that kind of empathy towards their own people. We like too much money, too much profits. That is our problem. So today, when it's when you take $1 and you go to China and you buy 6 slippers for $1, and you come and you want to sell one slipper for $10, and then you understand it is happening in our markets.
Yeah, that's true.
It is happening in our markets. It is because somehow we do not have any checks and balances. And it's an open market, unfortunately. We have an open market system, so anybody can price their goods as and how they want it. But then I'm just appealing to the conscience of our market women, to the conscience of those who are selling non-perishable goods, that for all of us to be able to afford to buy Ghanaian or from you, you have to also look at us that first, we don't, remuneration for Ghanaians, the salaries and wages for Ghanaians is so low. So make it in such a way that we can all afford to buy. Why should we all rush to Togo to go and buy? Or today we're all rushing to give to Nigerians to go and buy from Nigeria to come and sell to us, when the same things are in our markets. There was one time there was a wig fair at the Children's Park. A Nigerian wig vendor came with wigs. Ghanaians went there in their numbers to buy the wigs. Why?
The prices
were down. And what happened? The Ghanaian wig sellers went and attacked her. Yeah, it was a big issue. Went and attacked her for coming to spoil their market. Really? You are selling the things at such an exorbitant price when you know that all of us have to eat.
Yeah.
You understand? So these are some of the things. I'm not worried about even that aspect, but I'm worried about perishables. Food. Food shouldn't be something that you should come and want to be wicked about it. You understand? Why? I mean, yams. Ghanaians are buying yams. 50 cedis for a tuber of yam. How much did you go to the north to buy it? When you go to Walensee and they are packing the aboboyas and things with yams, go ask them how much they pay for those yams. Are you getting me? So now that you used to complain that it is the transportation that makes yams expensive, that makes yam and coconut, coconut is 10 cedis. Can you imagine? Coconuts, 10 cedis. From 1 cedi 50 pesos, it just jumped to 10 cedis. I mean, how? So we are our own enemies. It's time that we sat and reflected on the way we see each other, you know, and stop this kind of profiteering. It is wrong. It is wrong. If you're a Muslim, you know profiteering is wrong. If you're a Christian, you know profiteering is wrong. Yeah. So why are we doing it to our fellow persons? So for me, I'm hoping that GPRTU has brought the prices down, oil prices will go down, and all that there is to it. With the Gold Board, I'm happy for its establishment. I'm hoping that it will help us to control our currency. But Ghanaians must also be aware of the fact that once government starts spending, we may not be getting it as cozy as we are getting it now. And so as we are enjoying now, let us praise. And when it starts going up a little bit, let us be ready to accept that certain things have come into play. And that is how come it's going up.
It's going up.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Let me continue with the messages. Hi, please, how many times did the chairman go to Akufo-Addo for increment and the president give them money. Well, your message is not so clear. Good morning to your panelists. This flooding issue has been occurring since the 90s. Dakuma Junction and Sonic Atiko first light. As a country, are we serious at all? Okay, you didn't tell me your name and where you sent your message from. Kwablavi of Pukwasi says, now the dollar is down. We are begging Abuso, kind spare parts dealers, kinky sellers, trotro drivers, taxi drivers, landlords, etc., to reduce the price of their products so that Ghanaians will see that the NDC government has been able to stabilize the city. Greetings to Honorable Akwete Agbo, MC of Ghana North Municipal Assembly. Okay, please, as they are reducing transport fares, please let them come to our rescue for school payment in Salem School, Teshi. The payment is to, yeah. He said before the end of term we pay no less than 850 Ghana cedis, and they said it is free education. Please, government should do something about it. Okay, all right. Thank you for your message.
I think we should add
pharmacists, yeah.
Prices of pharmaceutical products
over the roof. I know, right? Good morning, brother, and to your guests. Great suggestions from your guests on the flat. However, the main call to government was disappointing. We, the citizens, should rather stop the littering than burdening the state purse. Shaibu Awini sent this one. Thank you, Shaibu, for your message. MPP should never be allowed to come to power again. They presented their so-called best economist, and as at the end of the day, they plunged the economy into a junk status. So what would their remnants come to do? Never again. Asanko from Santa Maria. Thank you, Asanko. Good morning. I'm Peter from Ofuase Kokobeng. You are doing marvelously well. Please kindly investigate about SH Light Insurance Company, because Ghanaians' monies are locked up there for some years now. But when you call, the answer is NIC. NIC has absorbed it. You can call me. Okay, you put your number there for clarification. Thank you. All right. We have just a few minutes more. Briefly, let me engage your thoughts on this one. The flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party in the just ended elections, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, he's come out to apologize. I think he's in the United Kingdom, where he delivered a speech, answered some questions relative to Africa's economy. But he's been talking. He says that it is. I mean, the appreciation of the city has nothing to do with any policy of the National Democratic Congress. According to him, it's the good for oil that is making us see the gains that the city is making. He's also apologized to the MPP for the 2024 election defeat.
He's not supposed to apologize to MPP. He's supposed to apologize to Ghanaians.
And not for the defeat necessarily. It's for
what?
I mean, he's apologizing for the defeat.
For the defeat?
Yeah.
Anyway, I unfortunately I haven't listened to his speech, but all I can say is that if he's apologizing to his political party, then that's in order. But I think that Ghanaians, rather, he should apologize to us, because he came across as the guru of economics who was going to take us to the promised land, and instead we ended up with nothing. And he shouldn't talk about the gold for oil. How many times did that thing happen that he should be talking about it? Is that what we're using now? I mean, there are so many things that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should not be talking about. At the end of the day, what we know is that the cedi has stabilized, it's appreciated against the dollar. Some of us may be happy, others too are not happy, because for whatever intentions, I mean, some of us bought it when it was 16 cedis, so if it's sitting in your bank account today, it's worth maybe 13 or 12 point something. 12 point something, so you've lost money. But at the same time, you're happy because if things are going down, maybe you still have the purchasing power at par with what you have lost. So, Bawumia, at the time that you did the oil for, gold for oil, is it, what happened to the dollar? Because you left government with the dollar being 16, almost 17. In fact, if you had stayed for another 2-3 months, it would have gone up to 20. You understand? So he should not, he should just, as a Ghanaian, I believe he's a patriot. You don't go bad-mouthing your country about anything. I don't think that was what he was supposed to go. Was he there as an opposition party leader, or he went there as a Ghanaian ex-vice president? You don't go doing that. It's the same thing our ex-president went and snitched on us in America regarding Burkina Faso, and you know it almost affected us from getting certain stuff for Burkina. They have to learn to love this country a little bit and then forget that it's politics.
Right.
When you leave office, you become a statesman. So now when you're talking, you talk good things about your country. You don't go black-mouthing anybody.
Right. Thank you. Audisha.
So Dr. Bawumia has once again ditched his expertise in technology and digitalization, and he's gone back
to the
economy. After what we saw of him in 8 years as vice president, where he decided strategically to shift focus from being an economic guru to an expert in digitalization. Suddenly in opposition, he has gone back to pick up the same clothes of being an economic guru. We wish him well. But to want to suggest that they are downplaying the performance of the current government in 5 months, and the fact that the finance minister, who is in charge of the economic management and planning, well, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, that is the minister, he says that the Ghana Gold Board has contributed immensely to the relative stability and the appreciation of the cedi so far. So Bawumia doesn't want to hear this. He's going back to bring that botched, that good for nothing, good for oil policy that they attempted to use to pull some wool over the eyes of Ghanaians, which didn't work. If this is how Bawumia wants to endear himself to the NPP and to the diaspora or whatever, I wish him well. Right. But we are
he's also said that
we are wide awake.
He's also said that
people.
the NPP has a big chance of winning the 2028 elections because of the fact that the NDC will be presenting a new candidate.
So, and it seems that the NPP will not present a new candidate.
No,
you see the de facto presidential candidate.
He's already bringing himself.
He thinks so.
He thinks so.
He thinks so.
Oh.
But I have a few minutes more to close. Let me read a few messages before I say goodbye. Bless your guest. Awudu Ishaq, in fact, is brainy. His demeanor and approach towards every raised topic is top notch. I'm jealous of his costume. G.H. Malema sent this one. Thank you. This one here also says that good morning, lady and gentlemen in the studio. You see, businessmen and women are very greedy and heartless. My name is Abdul Basit Mutawakil from Abuasu Zongo in Kwabri, East Zongo. Thank you very much for your message. Patrick Ngetia says, good morning. Good morning, Patrick. Seinu Bashiruddin says, the boss is shark. I would keep it up. Okay. Noah Diagbo that says, the NPP UK branch says, Mr. Thomas Oheneba Boache is the way, truth and the light that will lighten and organize the people by bringing unity, peace and love to help the party gain strength and grounds to bring the party back to power in 2028. Okay. Yes. Ibrahim Boss says, hey, good morning. I am watching you live from New Jersey. Thank you, Ibrahim Boss. Nuhu Hamdan say, hey, good morning. Good morning, Nuhu. Mahamadou Fusheni says, good morning, bless and your lovely guest. The issue of urban congestion in our cities is a long-standing challenge that requires more than temporary measures. Cities like Accra, Kumasi, Sekendi, Takra, the Cape Coast, and Tamale require comprehensive planning to effectively address their unique challenges. To develop a sustainable solution, the Minister for Local Government should engage with key stakeholders to formulate a robust plan that can withstand the test of time and effectively decongest our cities. These stakeholders should be tasked with presenting a comprehensive decongestion strategy for all major cities, not just Accra, within a specific time frame of 2 weeks. There's a pressing matter that demands immediate and decisive action. While short-term successes may be celebrated, as noted by a panelist, the long-term sustainability of such efforts remains a concern. The similarities between Accra and Lagos in terms of congestion and filth highlights the need for lasting solutions. However, given the historical context, it is uncertain whether this strategy will yield different results. Previous initiatives such as those led by Salifu Amankwa, Okuvandapoy, and Ni Ajue Blankson have not produced lasting impacts, raising doubts about the effectiveness of this approach. A well-crafted plan is essential, but its success is not guaranteed without addressing the underlying challenges that have hindered previous efforts. This is a long one from Mahamadou. Let me read this final message. It says, good morning, Pan-African TV. The good performance of the city, if sustained, will be exposing the false economists in the country. The freedom with which the recent demonstration happened shows the difference between the former and current governments. Oral must work to restore confidence in our democracy that has suffered trust deficiency for some time now. Uncle Gabi from Wamfie. Thank you, Gabi. My time is up. It's 10 a.m. This is where we draw curtains on today's edition, the Tuesday edition of Good Morning Africa on your favorite channel, Pan-African TV.
I was going to ask you about what you felt about the immigration activity that took place.
I mean, for me, I think it was the right decision.
I think so too.
It was the right decision. I mean, I'm open to people coming into Ghana, but it should be through the right channels and don't become a nuisance to other Ghanaians.
Exactly, the nuisance.
Don't become a nuisance to other Ghanaians. Don't become the nuisance. You are in traffic, you are driving.
It's an attack. But then they were taking the children. But the gurus, I didn't see them.
No, the children are the ones they use for that.
Yeah, but the people who brought them.
And the children coming out, and then the children later go and account to them.
The trafficker. So did they arrest those ones?
I'm sure there's scores of them there in there. Right. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Do have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.
Truly African.